So we are that projection in tawaf around Allahu Akbar, the Kaaba on earth. You are in tawaf, projected now upward, the malaika in tawaf around the Bayt al-Ma'mur. And ulama have said that tawaf around the Bayt al-Ma'mur again is a projection of their tawaf around the Arsh of Allah Azza wa Jal. Projection, they are not there. So we here, projection upon projection upon projection, we are in that hal, in that shuhud. And that connects you directly to Allah Azza wa Jal in your qalb. And if that shuhud is there, you cannot push, you cannot hurt, you cannot feel others. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And in weeping or crying, in dua, in dhikr, and some maybe inside of them lost. They are not aware of hardships or of creatures, because of what Allah put in their hearts of shuhud, of manafi' lahum. I tell you one thing that I witnessed. Subhanallah, I felt that's an expression of something like that. Around the Kaaba, as you know, it's very, very dense, especially in the days of Hajj. Very, very dense. And those who want to get to the Hajar al-Aswad, and unfortunately do it in some of them so many harsh and hard way. People are very strong, very big, very huge. They are themselves afraid. They look at them and they are terrorized. At the same time, they push mercilessly in a super dense area. Around like about a square meter or 2 square meters, around that is a super dense area. Then outside of that is a dense area. There is super dense, there is dense, and there is less dense, and there is average density after that, all around. Now in the super dense area, I was, by the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, in dua and in prayer, waiting for the rahmah of Allah to get me to the Hajar al-Aswad. And alhamdulillah, every time I wished for that, I was there. And in the midst of this super dense area, super dense, I could see heads only, super dense, I'm a bit too, the Hajar is here and I'm a bit here, away from it by a meter or so. And then it's so super dense that there are many people, it's like in one space. Man, strong man. Now this is what I noticed. Inside, an old woman in this super dense area, an old, this tall, very frail. She was probably in her 80s. And I look at her, and she looks at me and she smiles without a sound. And there was some blood here. And now, Ya Rabbi, what is she doing here? It's like she came there, she wanted to die. And she was, her face was super peace. Wallahi alladhi la ilaha illahu. In the dense area, super dense area, when strong men are so afraid and they come out, even if they got there, pushing people coming out is another challenge. They feel to suffocate, they are screaming, and this woman in that super dense area, not woman, an elderly woman, is like she's in Jannah. I felt like this woman came here for shahada inside. She wanted to leave this dunya in that space. And the only thing I could do is, I said, dear mother, please, I can help you get out of this, but not inside. And that's all I could do. And she was so smiling. is like a miracle. When the qalb is at peace, it was incredible. Subhanallah. And I hope that Allah in some ways help her to get there, inshallah ta'ala. And we are circambulating around this Kaaba in dhikr, in dua, and so on, and we are the projection of that tawaf of the malaika, which is their projection of tawaf around the arsh of Allah Azza wa Jal, and therefore a full awareness of Allah Azza wa Jal. First, أن تعرف ربك عز وجل, that you know your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, of course, the special thing also there is to negotiate, to touch or to kiss Al-Hajar al-Aswad, which we say is an object, which we said is an object from Jannah, as the Ahadith teach. And that it is also, what did we mention in Khutbah al-Jumu'ah? That it represents what also? Yameen Allah fil ard, the right hand of God on earth. The right hand of God on earth. Bila kayf, without modality and without tashbih, ta'ala Allah anil ashbah. It symbolizes, the right hand of Allah Azza wa Jal, and people are doing everything to do what? To kiss it. Allah Azza wa Jal, by His rahmah, that's not His hand, remember it's representing subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His merciful love, He made that object from Jannah, the Jannah dimension of which is folded away from the experience of mortal human beings in these four dimensions. He subhanahu wa ta'ala made that as a means by which we connect with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that in kissing that, or touching that, is we are renewing our pledge of Tawheed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah alone. If we cannot, preferably is to do this, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, to do sujood on inside, and then to kiss it. And be in dua if you have time. Thousands of tens of thousands of malaika are in that space. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches, it's not just space, it's a space filled with malaika. We say Ameen to your dua. Allahu Akbar. We renew our pledge of Tawheed to Allah Azza wa Jal. We commit to Allah Azza wa Jal. As in this dunya, in the old days in this dunya, when a subject commits himself or herself to obedience of the king, they do that by showing their allegiance and kissing their hands, which is a practiced thing. And in our deen, we do that. In those earlier days, the companions used to do that to each other of respect and reverence. And they kiss the hands of their teachers, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala an, and Sayyidina, I think, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, who went to visit, Sayyidina Umar went to visit, when he went to Sham and visited, he received him and he kissed his hand, tabarrukan. So when we pledge our allegiance, we do that. That's at the level of human beings. That was acceptable. It's not haram, it's not makruh. Without sense of ibadah, without sense of worshipping anybody, wal-iyadhu billah. So when we do that, we are representing this pledge and renewal of our pledge of Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal alone. And that's what it is. And Al-Hajar al-Aswad, as we mentioned, which is an object from Jannah, radiating and illuminating with nur in its beginnings, before Allah Azza wa Jal folded its nur away from this human dimension, that it witnessed the oath and the pledge that all humanity gave to Allah Azza wa Jal before Allah created the human beings. الميثاق الذي أخذه الله سبحانه وتعالى على Bani Adam that Allah mentions in the Quran and is mentioned in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before we existed, before we were created in physical reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken an oath and a pledge from every human being to be, from the genome of Adam alayhi salam and Hawa, from every human being to be until the end of time, that Allah is, and that we recognize His Lordship and we owe Him worship subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everyone has that inside of him or her. Everyone has that embedded as a fitrah inside of him or her. And when the Rasul and the messengers come, they bring that which is inside of us, they bring it out. And we either accept or we refuse, wal-'iyadhu billah. Accepting is Islam and Iman, rejecting is kufr and shirk, wal-'iyadhu billah. So Al-Hajar, this object from Jannah, in the dimension in which it was, in the sifa, in the attributes in which it was, witnessed that oath and knows. So Al-Hajar al-Aswad, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, on the day of judgment it shall come with lips and with a tongue to speak with and eyes to see with, and it will testify on behalf of those on earth who touched it or negotiated it or kissed it with sincerity inside of their hearts. بحق يشهد لمن استلمه بحق. Subhanallah, as though that Hajar al-Aswad, as we said before, when you approach that Hajar al-Aswad, it takes a picture of your heart and it records it in the way Allah allows it to be recorded. And on the day of judgment, it plays it back, the condition of your heart. This is what the heart was when you were there. Allahu Akbar. That's a very powerful meaning, being at that moment in the haram of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those benefits to be witnessed. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal for the company of the righteous and the company of the Anbiya and the Rusul and the forgiveness of our dhunub and the full liberation of our hearts from our nufus and from shaitan. And we do that. And there's all that space is so rich, so special, subhanallah. Every square millimeter of space, not only of ground, is very, very special. Remember, when we are there, when you are there, you are in the holiest of spaces, the most sanctified of spaces, the most precious of spaces in the open four-dimensional universe. And therefore we have to behave accordingly. We have to be always in a state of awareness of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and of dhikr, and of dua, and of talbiyah, and of humility and humbleness, constantly walking perhaps the gaze of your heart always down, always down. It's just, don't be like everybody else. Don't do what everybody does. Do what you have learned and you will know to do. Yani vanish inside of you away from everybody else. Vanish inside of you away from everybody else, good or bad. And let Allah alone help you see what He wants you to see, not what you want to see, not what you want to hear. Let Him do that to you. Just follow these instructions of claiming your heart with Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, claiming your heart back to the journey of Tawheed bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. And then after that, show gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal by doing what? Performing 2 rakat behind the maqam of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Behind the maqam of Ibrahim alayhi salam. That's a place of barakah. We seek that space. We seek to perform salah there in that space because Sayyiduna Ibrahim touched that space, and the stone on which he stood is there. The stone on which he stood to erect the walls of the Kaaba. And as the wall rose, that stone, by the simple will of Allah Azza wa Jal, rises with him, as a ladder between space and time, defying gravity. And he lifts him, and he continues to do that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to leave it as a sign for the world, He, again, another sign, these are the laws of Allah Azza wa Jal, laws of gravity and anti-gravity are all Allah's laws. He makes gravity operates in anti-gravity if He wants, and anti-gravity operates in gravity where He wants, because He's the one who wrote those laws subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He can modify them in infinite ways as He wills. Al-Qudratu لا حسرة لها لا حسرة لقدرة الله سبحانه وتعالى. The Qudra of Allah has no bounds. Allah, God, is infinite subhanahu wa ta'ala in His Qudra. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to leave another sign for all generations to come, He also modifies the laws of nature as He created them in these dimensions as we experience them. And in this case, the footprint of Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam sinks into hard rock. When a footprint is on clay, on soft ground, but this was hard rock. And He leaves the print as an ayah, as Allah Azza wa Jal says about Maqamu Ibrahim. إن أول بيت وضع للناس الذي ببكة مبارك وهدى للعالمين فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم. آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم. Manifest signs, the maqam of Ibrahim. Allah Azza wa Jal left that to all generations. للتبرك, to seek blessings and to perform salah there for barakah, for more blessings, and to touch it. Now of course it is sealed, vacuum sealed and so on, nobody can touch it. If you can touch and they allow you to touch, you touch the external part as a projection of what's inside again, and you go to the next available thing. Right? And we perform those 2 rak'at, gratefulness to Allah Azza wa Jal and a commitment to Allah Azza wa Jal after these gifts. And this is the millah of Muhammad, of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, and the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that we commit ourselves to the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And we lay ourselves prostrate there and we seek help from Allah Azza wa Jal for that. Because barakah, at-tabarruk, is to seek help and to seek more and to seek al-nama' wal-mazid wal-ziyada. At-tabarruk is to seek growth and to seek multitude and to seek more of something by using a means that Allah Azza wa Jal loves. In this case, to be next to the maqam of Ibrahim, to seek that increase and that gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then again, more of the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is what? What do we do after that? As a sunnah, we drink from Zamzam. Then you go drink from Zamzam. Ma'u Zamzam lima shuriba lah. The water of Zamzam is for what you drink it, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said, another gift. And you go refresh yourself and face Qibla. Qibla is right there. Allahu Akbar. I don't know if you have not gone for the first time yet. This is Qibla, and you are Qibla in Qibla. Wherever you are, you don't face east or west. East or west has nothing to do with Qibla, or north or south, or north. It's nothing to do with Qibla. That space is what is Qibla. And when you are there, you face the space. So you could be north and you're facing south. You could be south and you're facing north. You could be east and you're facing west. You face the Qibla. And then that's why the sufuf, the lines are not straight lines. They are curved lines. They are circles. They are circles. Subhanallah. Wherever you are in the world, you direct yourself towards that direction. So you could be in India and Pakistan, you don't face east. You don't face east for Qibla. You face west. You face west. Some people from the Arab world or Africa, if they went to India and they wanted to pray, they would directly direct themselves towards east. And they're told, what Qibla is not. And they didn't know that Qibla has nothing to do with east or west. Those were not well educated in the Shari'i sense. So they insist on facing east. And the Qibla is not east or west, nor north nor south. The Qibla is that space. Is that space. So you face that space, and you stand and you drink Zamzam and you perform dua, ماء زمزم لما شرب له, and you ask for what Allah allows you also and allows your heart to witness. Some say, Ya Allah, give me a car. Ya Allah, give me a house. Ya Allah, give me a husband. Ya Allah, give me a wife. Yeah, and I have heard that. Ya Allah, give my son best job, this specific job. I heard it in front of the gate of Allah, of the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. You know, poor woman, Skina. You know, I'm not tell you from what country she was, because I recognize that from her, the way she spoke. And she's literally pleading to Allah in front of the gate for a specific job for her son, and naming him. Anyways, it's halal, but that's not what you're there for. Though you may, Allah is Kareem. You know, look at one of the Salihun, what his dua was. One was Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anh, in one report I read. In the other one also, Sayyidina, the great Tabi'i scholar and Zahid and Muhaddith and Faqih, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak. He drank from Zamzam and he stood facing Qibla. And since he was a scholar, Hafiz and a Faqih and a Muhaddith and so on, he mentions the narration. He mentions, Ya Allah, لقد بلغنا عن فلان that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, that your Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ماء زمزم لا شرب له. Zamzam water is for what you drink it. He said, Ya Allah, inni ashrabuhu li dhama'i yawm al-qiyamah. Allahu Akbar. Look at this dua, where this heart was, and what that heart was witnessing to utter these words. And his dua was, Ya Allah, I drink this Zamzam water for the thirst of the day of resurrection. That is, you know, that on the day of resurrection, humanity will be in such a thirst. Heat will be so intense. And humanity all will plead and will ask for the intercession of Adam and the Anbiya, and finally Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asking for their intercession even in Akhirah to even start the reckoning, start the accounting, to get out of that condition. And the thirst is incredible. Each one at their levels. That they are very next to each other, and one could be bathing in sweat and the other one is in ease. That's the realm of the Qudra. So this righteous Salih Alim says, Ya Allah, I drink this Zamzam, in other words, for relief from the thirst of the day of resurrection. Allahumma inni ashrabuhu li dhama'i yawmi al-qiyamah. And then we continue. And the next thing, which is also a rukn, in this case, for Hajj, and that is al-safa, al-sa'yu bayn al-safa wal-marwa. Al-sa'yu bayn al-safa wal-marwa, a rukn in accordance to the majority of the ulama, rahimahumullah ta'ala. Al-sa'yu bayn al-safa wal-marwa. Of course, the first thing to remember, it is easy, alhamdulillah, to remember, but powerful enough, is the story of Sayyida Hajar, our mother Hajar, alayha salamullah. When Sayyiduna Ibrahim, alayhi salatullahi wa salamu, brought her from where? From where? Where were they? Where were they? They were in the Sham area, in Palestine area and so on. And then he brought her to Mecca. With her little child. And he brought her there in this open desert, scorching heat, no living being, no vegetation. And he leaves her there and begins to leave. And look at this woman, look at this family, look at this tawheed now. Now, for him to do that is beyond human strength. But this is the Islam of Ibrahim. The qalb full with Allah Azza wa Jal. At that time, almost full with Allah Azza wa Jal in the highest of sense. So she says to him, the only thing she says, why are you leaving us here alone in this place? He doesn't answer, I think. She says, did Allah order you that? He doesn't answer perhaps of what he's holding inside of pain and of Allah Ta'ala alam, what feelings of nobility. Did Allah order you that? Look at her question. Look at this. Did Allah order you that? Look at her Islam. Look where her heart is, where her soul is. Even with husband Ibrahim alayhi salam. He answered yes. He answered yes. That's the tawheed, the ultimate sense of tawheed. She says, then Allah will not leave us alone. In other words, without help. Then she feels comforted. And she is alone with an infant. And the infant, after a while, cries. And there is nothing around. No water around. And you know the story. As she's there and she's alone, the child is crying. She needs help. When did this happen? Allah Ta'ala alam, after Sayyidina Ibrahim left. Then she looks and then she sees there a hill beyond which she cannot see, because Mecca is all surrounded with mountains and the Haram is all surrounded with mountains. She climbs on the next climbable hill, a Safa. She goes and runs and then walks, climbs on the Safa and looks into the horizons. If there is somebody to call for help, somebody, if there's caravan, if there's water, if there is something. And then she doesn't see anybody. And there's another hill and the baby is crying. She comes back, walks down, runs and walks. Then she goes to the Marwa, another hill less, and not as high as the Safa. And the ground of the Marwa is mostly pebbles. And she looks again She looks further. She doesn't see. She hears the baby. She comes back again. Come back and forth. Back and forth. Back and forth. 7 times back and forth. Then she goes to the baby. The baby is still there. And then, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested her and her patience and her resilience and her iman and her faith and her trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, and she did not doubt Sayyidina Ibrahim, who is he, this Nabi who does these awful things. She never doubted that. Istaslamat lillahi Azza wa Jal. And she knew there is divine wisdom behind this. And indeed, Allah Azza wa Jal wanted to bring her to be the progenitor and her son for what? For whom? For the greatest of all human beings. For the most beloved of all creatures of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's what was her gift, to be given there. But He brought her there to that barren land, worldwide, dunya-wise, there was nothing. There was nothing to distract her soul and her heart from Allah Azza wa Jal. And she accepted that. He deprived her of all of that, because when doing that, her qalb is also being cleansed from anything else than Allah Azza wa Jal, to give her ultimately to be the mother of the most beloved creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Yes. Barren land. ربنا إني أسكنت من ذريتي بواد غير ذي زرع عند بيتك المحرم ربنا ليقيموا الصلاة. Prayer of Ibrahim, Ya Allah, I have brought some of my offsprings to be in a land in which there is no life, no zara', no vegetation, but عند بيتك المحرم, at your holy house. There was no house, it was just a space, open space. That was the nurture. That was the exchange. Give up all dunya, and to give up all dunya, be in this barren land, but in front of the gift of Allah, the sanctified space, and the barakah of the space that shall become manifest age after age after age after age. Subhanallah. And so, as you know, Jibreel alayhi salam is sent, and he appears to her in the form of a human being, and she seeks غوث. She seeks غوث. استغاثت إن كان عندك غوث فأغث. This being that she seeks for her, a human being, if you have a means to rescue, please. If you have غوث, she sought istighatha from a being, a creature. And she knows, of course, that the real mughith is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody, though you call them غوث and mughith and istighatha, they are all asbab, means. The one who على الحقيقة subhanahu wa ta'ala يغيث is Allah azza wa jal. إغاثة البشر للبشر هي من الأسباب الكسبية. والله سبحانه وتعالى هو الذي يخلق سبحانه وتعالى يخلق الغوث سبحانه وتعالى. It is Allah who creates rescue, and He creates that, and He subhanahu wa ta'ala actualizes it through created means. So here's this created means, Jibreel in the form of a human being, and she asks him for غوث, استغاثت به, knowing in her heart, of course, that this is Allah, is mughith. And when I say to you, help me, same thing. I'm asking you, help me. But in my heart, as a mu'min, I should know that only Allah helps, and that you are the means that Allah, if He wills, provide for that help. And if you help me directly, but in the reality of all things, it is Allah who did that, and that should be my iman. If my iman in my faith is you do that independently from Allah, that's shirk. Even though it is externally legitimate. But if in my heart it is you and not Allah, or independent from Allah, then that's shirk. But if I say, please help me, rescue me, I can do that. That's halal, that's mashru'. But with the right state of heart and of mind. So here that example, even she, alayha salamullahi ta'ala, istaghathat in kana indaka ghawthun fa'aghith. So, as you know, the story that he, alayhi salam, did this with his heel to the floor and gushed Zam. And it was water flowing. And it is said when she wanted to stop, it was so much water, Zam. She's Zam, stop. And it goes from the Zam. It was called Zamzam. Some of the ulama say this is why it was called Zamzam. And Zamzam is an ayah from Allah Azza wa Jal. From then until as Allah Azza wa Jal wills in the future that water flows. So we drink from Zamzam. And then we go to the Safa. We repeat those actions from Safa to Marwa. نسعى بين الصفا والمروة. On the Safa we face Qibla and we implore Allah Azza wa Jal in dua and in Tawheed and in dua. Back in Marwa we do the same thing. We face Qibla and we implore Allah Azza wa Jal in Tawheed and in dua. Keeping in mind the story, the real story of our mother Hajar and her Tawheed and her tawakkul and her trust and her purity and her sincerity and the gift that Allah gave her through her progeny Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam was foretold later to be the one awaited. There are many beautiful isharat and beautiful subtle spiritual indications about also what one and some would be witnessing spiritually when they are in this ibadah between al-Safa and al-Marwa. Subhanallah. Some have said the following beautiful thing. When you are on Safa, remember first the story of Hajar alayhi salam, and you plead to Allah Azza wa Jal. Second, of the beautiful shuhud of meaning of that. Remember Hajar alayhi salam climbs on Safa and looks وتنظر وتشاهد and as far as she can, right? When you are there and you are on this hill after Tawaf al-Ifada, after you have witnessed in your qalb hopefully divine sifat, divine attributes and divine nearness and divine ma'rifah. First Allah Azza wa Jal, first Tawheed, first Allah Azza wa Jal. Then now you climb, you see you move and you climb high. Do you see the point? Through that ma'rifah and that Tawheed you climb high. Safa has what meaning? As-Safa, if we add a Hamza, As-Safa means purity. And up there your heart is pure. And وَتَشْهَدْ, you look further now with your heart into the furthest horizon after Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah is, and the shuhud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's asma and sifat. Then you see your shuhud into the everlasting past. Fil azal, further. Your heart looks into the azal, and what does it see into the azal? Sees the irada of Allah, the mashi'ah of Allah in the past, into eternal past. When you climb there, now your heart can, has been exalted in maqam, to feel, and therefore Allah is, and His will eternally is in the past. And He knows of me and all His creatures since the primordial past, the eternal past. I see that Allah Azza wa Jal is in control of everything. Everything that is simply a manifestation of His will and His knowledge of eternal past, which is haqq. So the person in there ponders himself or herself, and that he or she is only this in the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal and in the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that everything that appears now in his life is already in the azal of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that person does not see himself or herself now, and the tools of now, and the instruments of now, and the failures of now, or the successes of now, sees the everlasting azal of Allah Azza wa Jal in His will, pondering from that top place, top spiritual place. And then when you know that, then you go to the Marwa. And in the Marwa it's also a top place. Some have said, then that person ponders now the abad, al-mashi'atul abadiyyah. You ponder the everlasting future, the knowledge of everlasting future of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His knowledge of the future that is for me unknown. For me unknown. I am subject to His will and His knowledge of the eternal past, and I'm subject in my future also to His eternal will and knowledge. And I observe that, أشاهد ذلك, my qalb. Especially imagine those days when it was all empty space, and it helps you meditate well and ponder that. And in between the azal knowledge of Allah and between the abad knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal, I am on this earth working hard. That's sa'i. وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. My heart observes divine knowledge and will again, as I said in the past, and my heart observes divine control of the future, of which I know nothing, but I have to do sa'i in between. In that knowledge, I cannot escape my ubudiyah, my sa'i. وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. So that is my sa'i. Reminds me of my work that I need to do to fulfill my ubudiyah to Allah Azza wa Jal. To know that Allah knows the azal is important. To know that Allah knows the abad is important. That is beyond me. Now what must I do in between the azal and the abad? Work. Sa'i. Ibadah. Ta'a. And that's sa'i. So when I, first of all, on the Safa, when you know that, and you feel that, then you begin to walk humbly because you're overwhelmed by what that means. It's overwhelming. So that's why we walk. And then as we have pondered that well, now we have to strive. We have to stride and strive and work. So we begin running, work. And then we work, and we approach a level where we're going to rise spiritually. So we walk, and we rise on the Marwa, and we ponder. And then we rise, and we walk down, pondering, and then we have to strive and stride and work. We're home. And this is our life. This is our life. And if you will also, when we rise, it's expansion, it's bast, in a spiritual sense, that Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the gifts of expanding our qulub, the gifts of feeling very special spiritually and strong and at peace and comfortable and in istiqamah. And Allah gives us gifts of knowledge and of ma'rifah and of certitude and strengthens our yaqeen. We are elevated. And then after that comes, rest assured, after bas there is qabl, constriction, hardship, work. So sa'i, work, sa'i. And then sa'i, work, ibadah, and then Allah brings us gifts again, helps us rise and increase our certitude, and then we rise to the marwa. And then we are in that hal, and then we come back down, and then work, constriction, work. وهكذا قبض وبسط. صفا سعي مروة. Safa and Marwa bast, in between is qabd, constriction. And this is what we remember. Subhanallah, I think even the life, the nature of the human being, even to tell us that your life is going to be qabd and bast. Never expect to be always happy, nor always sad. It will be both. This is life. In the embryo of my mother, in the womb of my mother, as an embryo, before even that stage, or in an embryonic stage actually, what is the first thing that Allah creates and forms after, the division of the cells? What is the first thing that forms? Doctors all know that, the heart. The first thing you become is a heart. Nothing else. A heart. Imagine that. The cells divide, and after mitosis, the first thing that forms is you become. That thing is a heart, and it beats. Allahu Akbar. This is you. You're meant to be one between constriction and expansion. This is it. And the rest are details. And we grow always between constriction and expansion in the physical sense, the moral sense, in the psychological sense, in the social sense, in the financial sense, in the economic sense, in the political sense, in the historic sense. This is what we are. Allahu Akbar. And Allah wants us to come back to Him, just a heart, to enter Jannah. Just a clean, pristine, beautiful heart. This mashahid in that Safa and Marwa, if your qalb sees that, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And there is a lot more to be said, inshallah ta'ala. We will stop here bi'idhnillahi ta'ala for today, and we'll continue tomorrow right after Salat al-Dhuhr, and we will hopefully finish some of what I would like to share with you about these most essential and more important aspects, the interdimensional aspects of Hajj. And then after that, we'll talk about that which everybody talks about and knows about, however, with some things that are also maybe special to some. That is the external fiqh and the outward fiqh of Hajj, inshallah ta'ala. And we'll address some of those questions that you might have as well, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Wa sallallahu wa sallim wa barik ala sayyidina wa mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alihi al-tahirin wa ashabihi al-mayamin. التابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
On books, if I were to read one book before I go for Hajj, what book you would recommend? Like one book you really think like, if I would like one book.
I think you listen to these. Listen to This is the summary of tens of hundreds of books that have experienced this. This is what I recommend you to.